Well, good morning. Welcome to another IC82 video. I don't know if it's morning where you are, but it's morning where I am. So, there. Okay, now we have just finished doing a video on the Class 52 Western and the Midland Compound. We've got a beautiful rebuilt Battle of Britain class locomotive there, I think. And that's going to be used for some testing purposes shortly. But firstly, you'll notice that the siding over here that's called Pendulo siding is completely full of my now epic and famous Dapple mega boxes loaded with bulk ore stones from the garden. So there we go. And why do I want them there? Why do I need them? What are we going to use them for? We're going to do a special video today. It's called Battle of the Shunters. Duh, duh, duh. Look at those bad boys. Oh yes, they're all Shunters. Basically, if we just pan back, this is my little notepad that I jot down all my video ideas and stuff. Oops, I'm just tearing the thing apart. Basically, ages and ages ago, I thought it'd be really interesting to compare lots of different locomotive classes with like for like. And so I came up with the idea of the Battle of the Shunters to find out which is the best shunter. Not in the world, but out of the ones I've got, because I have got quite a few, as you can see. And basically I made a list there of all the locomotives. Conditions, all will have their wheels cleaned, the same siding and loop of track must be kept clean throughout the test, and the same controller is to be used. We'll come back to that in a second, okay? So test one is going to be haulage capability. Each one of those shunters is going to have its haulage capability tested. And then test two, if I just flip this over, is going to be slow speed performance. So something else that's really important to a shunter is the shunter's ability to obviously travel to really slow and realistic speed. So they'll all be tested for that too. And then the third and final test is the heritage train test. Now, I know this is a little bit, but in real life, shunters such as these are used all over the country and even all over the world on heritage lines because they're small, they're cheap to run, and they're really, really useful. But more than that, they actually haul trains. They do, I've seen it. These little shunters sometimes have to haul an entire train. Now, they don't haul huge ones, but they can be asked to basically go above and beyond what they were designed for and do some pretty big tasks at times. And so that's going to be our third and final test, the heritage train test. Now you might just think, well, surely that's the same as haulage capability, which we've already got with the Dapple mega boxes. Well, it kind of is, but it kind of isn't. As I said, it is a little bit dubious, isn't it? But basically, it's going to be how good the locomotive looks as well. It's not just going to be how well it pulls the train, but it's going to be how good it looks, whether it looks like it's in place or looks out of place. So yeah, anyway, there we go. That's the third test. So it's going to be 3 videos. The first video will be the haulage capability. The second video is the slow speed performance, and the third video is the heritage train test. So what locomotives have we got, hey? Well, I'll guide you through them. So up at the top there, we've got Percy. Now, Percy's there for the kids. But in all seriousness, as far as the Thomas the Tank Engine family goes, he was basically their main shunter. Percy was asked to do shunting all the time, and so we're definitely going to test out his capability and see just how good Percy is. The second one in the list is a classic 040, a pocket rocket by Hornby. They've been building them for about 500 years. And this is the Hornby Collector's Edition. This came out several years ago, and it's basically one of their finest examples. It's such a beautiful locomotive, so I thought that that would be perfect to do the test with. The third one is a Ginty. We had to have a Ginty in here. I don't have a Bachmann Ginty yet. Watch out for the video on that coming up. It's connected to the Your Model Railway Village, so do watch out for that. But at the moment we can only test the Hornby Ginty, which I know isn't as good. The chassis is really basic, but I've got several of them and this is the best one I've got. The third locomotive is a pannier. This is the GWR pannier tank locomotive that you can see, and it's my only pannier tank locomotive, I think. No, it's not, I'm telling a lie. I do have another one by Hornby, but it's not as good, and it came in the E-Link set. This is a Bachmann one, and it's really quite special because it says Great Western on the side of it rather than just GWR. Plus, it's DCC sound. That little locomotive there cost about £180 or something, and is one of the nicest locomotives I have. Now, they did do shunting. I had to do a lot of research for this video, and they did do a lot of shunting. They seriously did, both in real life and they still do on heritage lines. It wasn't their main job. They did hold proper trains too, so it's only just made it in. It's only just made it into the test because it did do shunting, but occasionally it did hold proper trains. So it's just made it in. The third one there is a Class D apparently. Apparently that type is called a Class D, but it's pretty much exactly the same as that one there. I mean, the chassis underneath is almost identical. I don't want to say it is identical because I have run both of those, this Class D there and that black one, the 040 Pocket Rocket. I've ran them both loads, and I can tell you now, that one is much better. So even though, you know, underneath the skin they might be the same, there is a difference. So this is going to be an interesting video. The next one is a Class 06 little diesel locomotive. This person here is responsible for everything you see in the entire room, the entire house. The whole IC82 empire is basically built on that little locomotive there. He started it all. That tiny little Hornby Class 06 with his very unrealistic top speed of warp 10 started everything. So we just had to include that because it's a shunter. The next one is another locomotive by Hornby. Now this is where things start to get tricky because it's a Class 08, but it's the budget Class 08. There's the Bachmann Class 08, and there's the Hornby Premium Class 08. See, Bachmann only make one Class 08, and that's it. There you go. If you don't like it, tough. But Hornby do two. They do the budget one, which is just over there, and you can tell because its detail's quite basic and it's really light. And then they do a premium one, which is just here. The detail's much more improved. I mean, look at the handrails for a start. Look, that handrail's part of the moulding. That handrail is not. So they do a premium one too. And I have to say, and this doesn't happen very often, but the Hornby Class 08 is superior to the Bachmann one. It just feels better quality, it's heavier, it does a nicer job, it runs really smoothly, it's got a dead realistic speed. So I had to include all three. so I hope you like Class 08s because there's plenty of them. And then this is actually technically a Class 11. Yeah, I didn't believe it, I didn't know that it existed, but it's a Class 11. And it was basically given the code, you know, the TOPS code, Class 11, years and years later. At the time, it wasn't called a Class 11. I'm not too sure what it was called at the time, because obviously LMS means it's quite old. You're talking early 40s, I think. But yeah, it is now called the Class 11, so we're going to test that one too. But we've got to go easy on this one, okay? We've got to be easy on her because she's very, very old, and her motor is more worn out than an Eastern European Trabant. So we've definitely got to take it easy with her. And then there's the Class 14, the Teddy. Is it Teddy or Teddy Bear? I think it's just, I don't know. But it's a Class 14 and it's by Helgen. They are beautiful locomotives. I've got real high hopes for this one. I think this could win the entire competition. It definitely did shunting. That was basically its primary role, and it's got a very, very strong motor. It's got brilliant detail, a brilliant chassis, lots of traction. That could be the the clincher. I think that could win the competition, definitely. The next one is brand new. It's the Shunter. I hope you watched the review on that not so long ago. It seems to be a massively popular little locomotive. I still don't understand why, because I think it's the most bizarre looking little thing. but it seems to have a big cult following, so I had to include it obviously because it's a shunter, it's a lovely little shunter, and it might be small, but it packs a big punch. So it'd be really interesting to see just how well the Sentinel shunter does. And then the final one is the Class 03. Now this is impressive for such a tiny little locomotive compared to some of the others. This Class 03 by Batman has an awful lot of traction, an awful lot of strength, basically massive attitude in such a teeny little package. So I'm hoping that the Class 03 is going to impress me too. I think that's going to be like the sort of the ninja of the pack. He's going to win, and we're not going to know how or why, because it's just so cool and so impressive. So those are all the shunters that I can do my videos with. I do have loads of other shunters over there. Look, there's loads more 040s, but I only need one representative. Toby is not a shunter. That locomotive there did not do any shunting. That locomotive is a Black 5, and technically that did do shunting. Okay, in real, as I say, I had to do tons and tons of research, and that Class 05, that Black 5 there did do shunting in real life. The Class 5, I keep calling it the Class 5, the Black 5 did do shunting. It was called upon at times. If no other locomotive was available, then the Black 5 did do shunting. But we haven't included it because it's not primarily a shunter. It is primarily for hauling traffic, which is why it's got a tender. So it is for hauling mixed freights and passengers and basically just doing anything. And if we did include it, then it would win. It would totally win. It would wipe the floor with all the others there because it's just so big and powerful. So it would be cheating. So sorry Black 5, you can't be included. And the same goes for locomotives like that. I mean, there's no way that would have ever done some shunting. I find it impossible to believe. It would totally defeat the objective of being streamlined for a start. No, those locomotives, they hauled the big trains, they didn't do shunting. There may have been the absolute rarest of occasions where they had to because there was literally nothing else, but that's not good enough for it to be included in the competition, so they're excluded. And yeah, locomotives like this Class 350 definitely are excluded. But this does bring me onto this. Do you know earlier when I was talking to you about controllers and making sure that it's a fair test, not only are we going to make sure that all those wheels are cleaned, and they're cleaned after every single locomotive has done a test, but we're also going to make sure that the track, so basically the outer loop and the siding, are cleaned every single time. And we're going to use the same controller. This is a brand new controller by GaugeMaster, and this controller will be used to do the test with, to keep it fair. Reason is, this is a really good controller. You've been waiting years for me to get a proper controller, haven't you? I know you have. And I finally got a really decent DC controller. I've actually had it for about 8 months. Don't tell me off. But I've finally got around to doing a video on it. And here it is. It's the GaugeMaster Model Combi. It really is a fantastic DC controller. It's basic. It is basic, but it does the job. And for our test, for our Battle of the Shunters series, it's going to do a brilliant job. Now, obviously it can't be used for all of them because a couple of these locomotives are DCC. The pannier tank there is DCC, and the budget Class 08 is also DCC. But the rest, I'm pretty sure, are still DC. So I'm only going to have to use the Hornby Select a couple of times. For the rest, it's going to be this one. And it's certainly superior to both of those. I mean, this does have a nice feature where somehow it seems to control low speed really well. I don't know how it does it, but it does do it quite impressively. This is rubbish at low speed, but it packs a bigger punch and it's built better. The quality of that is really quite good, whereas that just likes it. It looks and feels like it's been made out of tissue paper. really not impressive. So we're going to use one of them. Another thing is I'm going to do a review on this because it's such a major thing. I'm going to do a proper video on it, so watch out for that. And this is the locomotive that will be used to test that controller with. It's beautiful, isn't it? But it took me a while to clean its wheels. Oh yes, look at them. Look at these. Look at all these little cotton wool buds. They have all come from that rebuilt Battle of Britain class. Honestly, look at that. Filth. Where have you been? You've been running around the fields again at night. Just look. Disgusting. And again, the Trap Magic though has done a fantastic job. People keep asking me if I'm on commission for this, and I'm not. I should be. I flaming well should be, but I am not. I do swear by it though. It's such a brilliant cleaning solution. It not only lifts all the dirt off from the oxides, but it leaves a sort of coating on the rails and a coating on the wheels, and it does do a fantastic job. Just look at this. Look at those wheels. They are really nice. They were black, unfortunately, because the locomotive had basically just been sat in the siding over here for months on end. Its wheels have gotten really, really dirty. So it did take me about 10 minutes to get them nice and clean again, but they're done, so I can throw all those in the bin now. So there we go. I've introduced you to the shunters and my plan and what we're going to do. There's a video on the controller, and the Dapple Mega Boxes are going to be what we test the haulage capability of with, and that's going to be video 1.